Emilio, I'm interested in knowing more about Cabeza de Vaca, the man. You said that our focus will be the transformations of Cabeza de Vaca's body and the possible meanings of those transformations. What is so extraordinary about Cabeza de Vaca?
Well, John, Cabeza de Vaca, he was just amazing. He was a Spaniard who was born in 1490. He fought in wars in Europe, and then, as you mentioned, was the royal treasurer of a Spanish expedition of 400 men and several ships that shipwrecked in the Gulf of Mexico. His captain was Pánfilo de Narváez. After the shipwreck, many of the men ended up on the west coast of Florida. Today it's believed that they shipwrecked or landed close to Tampa Bay or its vicinity. From there, they made their way across what today is Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, and finally Mexico. 4 men stayed together for 8 entire years. 8 entire years. Foraging for food, suffering enslavement and hardship, walking to the west and south.
So what's so extraordinary about that? Wasn't the expedition a huge failure?
It was a huge failure, but Cabeza de Vaca turned that failure into an incredible success.
I don't understand.
Cabeza de Vaca and 3 other survivors managed to walk from Florida to the northern part of Mexico, where the Spanish Empire had already a Spanish settlement. The days and even months after the shipwreck and landing in Florida were simply chaotic, to say the least. And when things became extremely dire for the survivors, Captain Narvaez made a drastic decision. He decided that there would be no more rules. It was every man for himself. Each man had to try to survive independently from the group and even from Captain Narvaez himself. John, would you read what Cabeza de Vaca writes about Captain Narvaez, whom he calls the governor, during this crucial moment?
The governor had the healthiest and strongest men with him in his barge, and we were in another barge and could not keep up. I yelled to the governor to throw me a rope, thinking that he could tow us so we could keep up. He called back that if he were to accomplish what he hoped to do that night, he could not risk further sapping his men's strength. He would not throw us a rope. I responded that since we were too feeble to carry out his orders and to follow him, he needed to tell me what I should do. The governor replied that it was no longer a time for one man to command another. Each man had to do what he thought best, and it was every man for himself. And with that, he pulled away in his barge.
Yeah, that's from chapter 16 of Cabeza de Vaca's story. It's obviously an exciting moment. The group is dissolving, military order is disappearing, and the men are in a place where they don't know anything about where they are. They don't know the language, don't recognize plants or animals. It's incredible how much Cabeza de Vaca leaves unsaid about this dramatic moment. In fact, it will be helpful to see how this moment has been imagined by the filmmaker Nicolás Echevarría,